Hello, welcome to Learn, Do, Become Radio. I'm April Perry.
And I'm Eric Perry, and we are so glad you're listening today.
Here at Learn, Do, Become, we help people who are overwhelmed by the details of life to create simple systems so they can do what matters most. And a lot of times that looks like organizing. So we teach you how to build a command central and how to calm your mind and have total mental clarity. But today we're talking about another aspect of simple systems to help us do what matters most, and it's about finances.
And real quick, is it possible as people are getting organized or improving their finances to actually do it simply and actually have fun doing it?
Yes, 100%.
All right, we'll see.
Sometimes the topic doesn't feel fun, but that's our goal, is to help it to feel really light and easy and enjoyable. Because if the things that we need to do feel enjoyable, then it's so much easier to just do them and get the benefits, right?
True.
So in our Arise membership, we go through 6 different areas of focus. One of those is organization. We also talk about relationships and health and purpose and having a connection with our higher power. And we talk about finances. And finances for me were always a little bit worrisome because I didn't like talking about finances.
Maybe you're feeling the same thing. You hear the word finances or even the B word, budget, and you just tense up. You just have like clenched knuckles because that doesn't sound enjoyable to anyone.
But Eric has actually made this really doable for us. He's been the leader in this part of our lives, and it's made a huge impact on us. And as we're preparing for our Arise membership call that's happening this month as we're recording in March of 2025, the title of that call is that financial success is for everyone. And I think the goal in that title is to help people not to feel so afraid of it, right?
No matter where you are, anyone can have success and be going forward financially. And you can be successful, and you can be successful, and even you.
So today we're talking about some principles that will build the foundation for our Arise call. We'll be sending this out to our Arisers. And if you want to come in, we have a 60-day free trial. You can go through 2 full months of the Arise membership and see how it's going to impact your life.
So, absolutely. We'd love to have you join in. I mean, again, it's a free trial for 2 months, 60 days. Come in and see what it's like in there, just working with and learning from a collaborative community that really are trying to move our lives forward. And if you don't like it, in 60 days, 2 months, you can run screaming into the wilderness, screaming away. Well, I'll show you my favorite trails and paths to get away. So just come in, check us out, have a chance to join this amazing community for this topic on finances in March and whatever we'll be covering in April, and it will be a ton of fun.
As Eric and I were going through the outline of what we're going to be discussing today, I asked the question, well, what do you want to share as far as why people should listen to us? Because just because we're talking about money doesn't mean that we actually know what we're talking about. What is it that, how would you explain why we're here even having this discussion and why we consider ourselves to be friends who can help people along this path?
And I had no good answer. So no one should be listening to this anymore. Just push stop and find another podcast right now. No, honestly, it's a great question. And I think, April and I, as we were raised in our families, we didn't come from wealthy backgrounds. Like mine was fairly maybe lower income, and April was kind of maybe in that middle tier. But we all always had to work for what we had in our lives. We had to work for college scholarships and earning money through high school and things like that. So when we got married, we have been building our financial lives together from what we had and what we could make of things. So we're not some stellar success somewhere, but over the 25 plus years we've been married, we've been able to put a number of principles into place that has allowed us to grow slowly but surely into a place where we have a level of financial independence in our lives. And, we're careful not to say too much or try to say anything like that, but just truly being able to build on simple principles consistently over time, you will be amazed at what's possible for you in your life, no matter what stage you're starting at or what age you're at right now. And we've been able to see these principles kind of replicated with others, our friends and family members. I work closely with my mom, for example, and a number of other friends who've talked with me over the years, and it's been really fun to see their lives change and their situations improve to the place where they now have more independence, more freedom and liberty to do the kinds of things that they would like to do in their lives. So it's this idea, there's this FIRE movement out there, right? Financial independence, retire early. I'm not a big fan of the RE side, like retiring early. I think just being able to transition into things, work, and activities you most enjoy. Mm-hmm. But getting to a level where you're able to not worry about and stress about finances and money on a day-to-day or month-to-month basis. And as you're listening to this, How would that feel to you? How would that feel to be able to get your financial house in order enough that month by month or year by year, you're not worried or stressed. You're actually confident and excited, having experiences each year where you know you're enjoying the quality of life then and having experiences in the moment, but also setting up for a brighter future. How would that feel to you?
Well, and when you said, oh, we're not like a stellar success, I think we just need to identify what success is, because we're not the wealthiest people on the planet. We're not billionaires, but that was never our goal. What you just described, not having to worry about money, being able to do the things that you want with the money, being able to give generously to organizations or nonprofits or people that you want to support, and being able to do what you feel like called to do or what matters on a day-to-day basis, knowing you're not going into debt. You're not overextending yourself. Right. You're being wise in how you're working. To me, that is stellar success, because I don't stress about, oh, can I buy this can of beans or whatever? Like, I'm not worried about that anymore. Where in our early days, like, I was stressed out about money. We didn't have really good systems in place. We were just, brand new.
I just mean we're not buying a yacht or a private jet anytime soon. That's not in the plan, even if the funds are all there. There are other things we would do with our money. But being able to be in a place where you know you have money set aside, money for retirement, things in reserve growing for you.
Yeah.
And not the day-to-day stress. So if those kinds of things sound appealing to you and sound like, wow, I really would like that for my life, then we'd love to kind of continue this conversation, this podcast, and even in Rise if that's of interest to you. So I'd actually suggest like 2 principles here, that as you build your financial plan, it can be simple. It can also be actually kind of fun and rewarding, or even funny. We'll touch on that in a second. There's a couple things I'll share. There's some fun stuff about finance that can kind of give you a smile and say, yeah, it's kind of cool. So on the simple side, it's just doing anything to help you move in a better direction. I'm actually going to quote, there's some principles we'll go over in Arise on the finance side, now and in future calls. About 10 principles, give or take, some principles for financial stability, growth, and independence. And we'll touch on 3 or 4 of those today, and we'll touch on more throughout the process in Arise. But I'd like to step back first and just show it just basically takes a little bit of effort, a little bit of attention. And I'll quote Dave Ramsey here. He just did a statement on his radio show recently that I want to share it with you, and I don't agree with everything he said or exactly how he said it, but I think the underlying principles are solid. Now, I want to warn you, he actually gets a little... he uses some language in here. He gets a little salty. So prepare yourself. So he says, quote, "You know what the number one mistake Americans make with their money is?" And I would actually suggest it's all people around the world. He says they don't freaking pay attention. Muffle your ears.
Is that the word?
That's the word. You're going to hear it again here soon. But he says they don't freaking pay attention. Then he says, do you know why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer? Because the rich people keep doing rich people stuff. You know what rich people stuff is? They pay freaking attention. They learn about investments. They invest. They do a budget. They agree on spending with their spouse. And it keeps working, and they keep doing it over and over and over and over again.
I love
Close
it.
quote. So again, the freaking, I apologize if that was like a little over the line there. We can edit this out or bleep me if you want. But the other principle is, he asked, do you know why rich get richer and poor get poorer? Because the rich people do rich stuff. Now, I would just suggest sometimes there are people out there who are advancing financially, and they're doing so sometimes on the backs of others or with other maybe tactics or approaches that maybe aren't ethical or even legal. And so I don't condone, people exploiting others to make money. But what he's saying is that the people who are prospering and growing financially are doing a few simple things consistently that are helping them to grow. They're paying attention. And again, I don't want to say that has to be complex. Even just taking 15 minutes a month and going in and opening up your credit card statement or your checking account statement and just reviewing where the money's going, you'll see things that might actually help you get off to a better financial start. You might see some recurring billing or some subscriptions or things there, or maybe an erroneous charge. Things like that, just taking a little bit of time to look into a few things. So we'll talk about a number of ways that you can start putting attention in a simple way, a basic budget, a basic framework for where your money might go. Nothing regimented and militaristic that makes you just cringe every time you think about pulling out money or a credit card from your purse or wallet, but just being able to know, okay, generally, here's how much we're spending in these categories. You've had a simple conversation, maybe with a spouse or partner, where you're actually able to move forward on a simple plan that's leaving you with a little more money each month than you used to have. And that money now can be redirected somewhere, either to some activity you desire or to some investment that'll grow for you. And again, simple approaches, but with attention and consistency can make a huge, huge difference.
I love that. Okay, so are we jumping into some principles?
We can jump into some principles if you want. So anything else you'd add, or are you good?
I'm good. I'm
Okay.
excited. Okay,
I'm going to touch on the first 4 principles that we may be highlighting this month in our Rise call. And we'll just kind of walk through them a little bit, maybe just have a little dialogue back and forth. The one I put at the very beginning, and again, I want to caveat this, I call these some principles for financial stability, growth, and independence. And I have an asterisk that says, these principles are not financial advice, counsel, or direction, but they are simply principles that April and I have tried to live in our lives. And we've seen benefit, we've seen growth, and some great results come from it. So we just want to share some of the things that we have been doing, talk with our community about these things to help them find ideas or the path that may be best for them to move in the directions they want. That sound
sounds
good?
good. Yep.
So the first principle, I actually felt strongly putting this here. It says, establish at least one way to give charitably now, even just one cause in a small way as you begin. And this could be something as simple as $5 a month or something like that. Just finding a way to give something to someone else, somewhere else, to be able to lift and support them as you're getting your own financial house in order. And then the principle finishes, increase this as you prosper.
So just to be devil's advocate,
Okay?
sometimes I would think, well, I will just be a nice person, and then once I have money, I'll give money. Why does it matter if someone gives $5? Because that really feels like not that much.
Okay. So $5 this month, you're going to devil's advocate that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just asking. If someone's like, that's only $5, it doesn't matter.
Do you think you might waste $5 somewhere this month?
Absolutely.
Okay. So why would it make sense to decide right now that you want that financial discipline or that personal choice kind of set in your heart now, even if it's something as small as $5?
Well, I guess I would say, not being the devil's advocate, that you're going to build a habit. Kind of like we have tithed our whole life. And even when I had $1 and I learned to give a dime, I feel like I just learned to be grateful for what I had and to recognize, from my perspective, any money I earn is I'm a steward over, but really I feel like it's God's money. So for me, learning how to give is just training my brain.
And did you get by okay on those 90 cents?
Yeah, I always did.
Like you didn't notice the absence of what you gave, right?
Yeah.
So I would just say there's a lot of principles, psychological, emotional, in the world we live that will actually come into place. And you're right, it's establishing a habit. You're actually building a muscle to give, to be charitable. And as that builds, I've heard it's the hardest to be charitable when you have very little and when you have a great deal. In the middle, it's more, I don't know, I'll say simple, but more likely to be charitable. But when you have a lot or you have very little, and so I would just suggest no matter where you're at, start the principle so that as you're able to grow and prosper, this becomes a part of the fabric of which you're made.
I like it.
Does that make sense? All right. So principle 2 is just build an emergency fund. I would suggest $1,000 at first, and then eventually growing it to 3 to 6 months of your life-sustaining expenses. So again, this could be something that you build up, but just getting to that first $1,000, I know it could feel like, oh my goodness, but as you do a simple review of your finances, you might find a way to set aside a couple $100, a few $100 each month. But knowing that's in an account and then being able to live your life from that point, if something comes up, something catastrophic like a repair to a car or some minor medical situation, you're now not sacrificing the quality of your life and the plan you'd set out for the monthly money you have coming in and going out with a simple plan. You're able to go to that and use that to take care of that expense in that moment. And then you work to replenish it and keep building it. But what you'll notice is it'll also help you develop the discipline to set aside a little to be able to build that fund up. And when that fund is fully funded, that money can then redirect back to something else, like an investment or other opportunity. So,
Do you feel like it's better to have that be cash money that you go put somewhere, or make a separate bank account, or where would you put it so you're not tempted to
I would
spend
put it
it.
in a place you're not tempted to spend it.
Okay,
And
but
you
what
get to
if
decide what that is.
what if you feel like as you're building that account, there's always an emergency? And so you build it up to $300 and there's an emergency. And then you build it up to 300 again, then there's an emergency. What if people are living in emergency mode? What would you say?
What would you say?
I'm asking you. Why do you take every question?
You're
and turn
throwing.
it back
Oh,
to
I'm curious what you would say, and then a lot of thought or two.
Well, I guess that, I mean, I'm trying to think back to our life, early days when we started doing this. We were actually putting, I mean, during the time when I felt the most financially strapped, that's when we were contributing to our 401k and we were trying to start like saving up some stuff for the future. And I remember when I first saw, like I was home with our baby, you were working full time. And when I first saw what we were earning, I'm like, oh, this is great. And then as soon as we started like putting stuff into places where I couldn't access it, I started getting kind of panicked and stressed out. There were some times where like we had a tire that blew or like things were happening, but I found that as we started being very careful and planning ahead, maybe there were fewer and fewer of those things because yeah, you might have the tire blow, but a tire's not going to blow every month. And so,
Unless you're a crazy driver.
yeah, so I found that as we just did it consistently, sometimes it took a while, but over time.
And I want to recognize we can't control everything in our surroundings in our lives. And sometimes it can feel or even be like there are a lot of emergencies coming up. But I would try to suggest this discipline may actually add to another discipline of just learning to find ways to avoid or to prevent emergencies from happening.
Yeah.
And or getting resourceful in dealing with emergencies as they may come up, figuring out alternative ways that may not be cash-based. And so again, it's just this ability to restructure some thinking.
That actually did remind me of one thing. There was a period of time where we were like, '08, the whole crisis, all that going on. And I was trying to be very, very careful with everything I spent. And there was one day I took the kids to the dentist and one child, I think, or a couple of them, they had some cavities. There was something we needed to do. And I was stressed because I was
pulled
like,
out all their
shoot.
teeth, right?
Well, I was worried because I thought, wow, they need this work done and this is going to cost so much money. But then as I talked with the dentist, they actually said, hey, if you want to pay part of it now, we have no interest. You can pay some of it later. And it gave me the ability to have a no interest, but just kind of pay a little less for right then, knowing that I would be able to pay it. It would be in our budget to make those payments. So it's a
cash flow management, as long as you got terms with no interest on it, no additional cost to you. So again, it's being flexible. It's being creative. It's getting outside the box. It's trying to figure out, I mean, if we were fruit farmers, we could have bartered with like peaches and corn and tomatoes to pay part of the bill. Like who knows, right? So,
or like when I started cutting your hair. And it was really bad, and I don't do that anymore, but we were trying to save money.
That's a fun side story. Anyway, so yes, so that's just the principle too, is just building that emergency fund, a small amount at first, then to a place where you just know if you had 3 to 6 months of life sustaining expenses, if a job loss came or something happened, you sleep well at night knowing I've got that runway to be able to go out and make other decisions and make other things happen. Yeah. So principle 3, start by saving, investing. And I might suggest maybe just starting with 5% of your income and then moving to 10 to 20% plus as quickly as you can. And that's going to be a problem. We'll talk more about that inside Arise and as we give kind of more conversation about it. But it's just finding a way to maybe eliminate some expenses, some non-essentials to have that extra amount of money going. And what I would highlight here is just the power of compounding interest. It's a podcast, so we can't really show you a visual right here. But if you put aside some money early on and you let that grow as you're adding to it month by month and you let it grow over 10, 20, 30 years, the outcome, the result is astounding at how your money can grow if you let it work for you. So again, just this idea by starting as early as we can, saving and investing. And then 2 corollaries to this are just always be looking for solid ways to increase your earning power and your income. Always be looking for and asking for ways to reduce your expenses. The way that we kind of increase the amount we can set aside and invest is by increasing our income or decreasing our expenses. And there are limitless ways to do that. Solid ways to increase earning power and many ways to find to minimize expenses, discounts, and ways to save on things that we need or to cut out to have more of that money stay with us so we can use it for what we want.
And I mean, this principle number 3, it feels like 3 principles all in one, because learning how to start investing, like taking that bit of income and investing, that is a whole process. That's something I never knew how to do before you showed me. But then also earning more, making a bigger shovel to dig yourself right out of that. And then reducing, like there are so many ways to save money and put all that. So yes, I think that the overall principle of let's like bring in more, spend less, and then invest that difference, it's one principle, but it's kind of three.
They're intertwined, but
Yes.
you want to be able to have money to save and invest. And so you want to try to increase income, decrease expenses. So again, we won't go deep into it on this, but again, that concept should make sense to you as you're listening to this. And sometimes it means getting a little bit more frugal, a little bit more careful in how we spend and trying to be creative in how we bring in a little extra money. But just that difference, like my mom, for example, she does a little bit of editing work in her retirement now. She's got, an income through pension, a simple pension, and simple Social Security. But just doing this editing work, which she enjoys a ton.
Yeah, she's good at it.
She brings in an extra $250 to $400 a month. Well, guess where that can go?
Yeah.
Because the other sources cover all of her basic needs. This little side thing that she enjoys doing a little bit here and there each month is an amount that she can set aside and just be putting in to an investment account, someplace we've designated. And every month it just keeps buying a couple more shares and a couple more shares, and it's growing over time for her. So
Well, and one
they
thing
all
I'll
tie
just
together.
add on that, when it comes to finding a creative way to bring more money in, I think it's important to recognize you might not hit on the ideal way for you right at first, because there were some things that we tried before, where I had tried to do a little home business when we first started, and it just wasn't sustainable through my
Yeah,
pregnancies
not
and
everything
stuff like
works
that.
out.
There was other things that you and I would worked on, different projects, and some of them were okay short term, but just weren't really great for our family. But then, I mean, the reason why we're able to run, learn, do, become full time is because we kept exploring and learning different ways, and then figured out, okay, we really enjoy creating online digital products and courses, and it feels fun to us, and it's something that works with our family. And so that's why we're here.
So if you try 10 things over the course of a couple of years, you
Yeah.
may have 8 of them not really work out.
Yeah.
And one kind of work out, and it's like, okay, and you might run that. And the other one is like, wow, this is really amazing.
Yeah,
And
we
then
could
you
really do
start
something
building
with
that.
this.
So the only way you find those things is if you put yourself out there, you try
Yeah.
some things that
And we were never out of our comfort zone in any of this, right?
not one time, never. So again, it's just that idea that if you're looking to improve your life, you're going to need to do some things differently than you've done in the past. And I'm just saying it doesn't have to be hard, scary, or difficult. It can actually be pretty straightforward, pretty simple. It just requires putting yourself out there and some consistent effort.
Yeah.
All right, principle 4, we'll kind of wrap up on this one, is just this idea of paying your credit card balance in full every month. There's some financial advisors say don't use credit cards at all, don't use plastic, use cash. It creates a psychological, idea that you're not spending as much as you are. So you could pay in cash only, but the principle is here. If you use a credit card, pay it off in full every month. If you're using a debit or a debit card or cash, that obviously has a direct drawdown on cash, but just never spend more money than you have available to spend on that thing. And I would encourage you never to exceed your income. Kind of tied to that, don't buy anything unless you pay for it in cash, being cash to the credit card or cash directly to the seller there. And strive to never borrow money in any way. This is kind of maybe down the road, maybe with the exception of like a reasonably costed education or reasonably structured and costed mortgage. I would just be very careful with debt. That's just one of the principles we try to live by, and it has served us well. So again, buy everything you can in cash. Don't pay your credit card balance in full every month, and be very careful about borrowing money. Now, there's kind of a funny principle along with this. Saturday Night Live had a sketch years and years ago. It has Steve Martin and Amy Poehler in it, and it's called Don't Buy Stuff You Can't Afford. And it's a 2-minute sketch. We might link to it here in the show notes, but it literally is, I forget who the third actor is, but he's the one coming in saying, I've got this guide, and Steve Martin and Amy Poehler are like a husband and wife, acting like it's this revolutionary concept not to buy things until they have the money and the ability to afford or pay for the thing. And it's a 2-minute sketch that's just so straightforward. It's like common sense, but it's hilarious. But I think a lot of us as humans, Americans especially, have gotten to this idea that we'll buy now and we'll pay for it later. And I don't think we recognize the inflated cost. Buying on credit or buying over time really does add in. It not only decreases what we have growing for us in an investment account, it's actually costing us more as we pay that out over time. So again, we might link to that in the show notes, but it's hilarious realizing we don't need to buy things that we can't afford. And it's much simpler, much more rewarding to just have the money, buy the thing.
Well, at the beginning, when you were quoting Dave Ramsey and he was saying rich people keep doing rich people stuff, and, the contrast of that is poor people keep doing poor people stuff. I've had some experiences in my life where I've worked closely with people who were deep in credit card debt or who were just constantly just below the poverty level, just feeling like they never had money. And when I got to know them carefully and started finding out more about their spending patterns, and I'm not saying every person who struggles has these spending patterns, but this is just something that I noticed, was that they would buy things that were not necessities, but they had really good reasons why they needed it that were based on their values, but they weren't able to delay that gratification. I mean, like in one case, there was someone who they were going to it was their anniversary, a wedding anniversary, and they wanted to get a nice new ring. And it was a very expensive ring. And so they figured out like, oh, well, I still was able to get some extended credit to get the ring so we could have this really nice celebration of our anniversary. So the value was we love each other, we've had a great marriage, we want to celebrate it with this beautiful ring. But there wasn't any thought like, but you're overextending yourself to get that ring that's going to end up costing so much more. So what would you say when people are like, no, but I really want that? I mean, what's kind of we need to be an adult and we need to recognize that it's going to matter more to have financial security than to have that item.
I don't know what you want me to say.
I don't know. I'm just saying I notice this all the time.
The hard dad? No, you can't do that. I just simply, I would just step back and evaluate, what do you want most? Because if that thing is deeply, deeply important to you, then I guess that's the reason why that person makes that decision.
Yeah.
But there might be a better way, maybe more reasonable way to get there and say, okay, I want that thing and it's going to cost this much. And so I'm going to set aside this much each month until I get there and buy it when I have the funds. And in the meantime, to celebrate this moment, this accomplishment, let's say it's a 20th anniversary or something, or 10th anniversary, make a cake or, like whatever, like something simple that can be done for $5 or $10, share the moment, create the experience and say, I love you. Like this relationship we have means a great deal to me and to you. And here we are. This cake is the symbol of our love, right? And at some point in the future, we'll replace that with this ring that I really want. Like, but does that make sense? Like you're stepping it out. And being more careful in how that, because you're literally going to keep yourself in a situation where you can't experience the joy and the peace in your life that you'll share together because of the financial strain and burden and worry. Somebody once said, interest, those who understand it, earn it, and those who don't, pay it. And interest is incredibly powerful on both sides. It can absolutely build and grow. Interest is part of how savings can increase. Compounding interest or compounding gains in an investment or a stock market, wisely chosen, has tremendous power to build the financial base you want. But on the other side, if you're a debtor, interest and the things required of you can be extremely crippling and extremely damaging. And so I would just encourage you to recognize that. I know it's not a fun lesson to think about. It's more fun to have things now and not have to wait. But if you're careful, you're disciplined, and you have that vision, that objective, I promise you life can and will get better.
There will come a day you'll be able to make those purchasing decisions without the stress.
Right.
But it comes at a price. It comes at a cost of having that discipline now.
Right. So I don't know. So these are the first 4 principles of things we'll be talking about in Arise this month. And as we hit on finance, we touch on each of the topics that April described at the beginning twice a year. And it's amazing. This community comes together. We have some kind of pre-reflection questions that people are thinking about, sharing their own ideas, their experience. And in this community of Arisers, we're learning with and from each other. We'll have some things we share, but I love each month a chance to come together and learn. I get some new insights every month from this incredible community, things they've done, things they've tried, things they've succeeded at, and just celebrating our successes and putting plans together to keep growing each month. Yeah. So if you would like to be able to learn and grow together with a community of very supportive individuals, we would love to have you be part of Arise. to step into this 60-day free trial. Come in and check out March as we talk about financial success being for everyone, and April and our subsequent topics, and be able to be part of this community. Again, no risk, but it is truly an incredible place to be. So we'd love to see you there. There'll be a link to it here in the show notes.
Yeah.
And hopefully this little discussion about finance and some initial principles to help us maybe move in the right direction or a better direction has been helpful to you.
It's been fun because as we created finance as one of the areas of focus in Arise, Eric said, my goal is that Arise more than pays for itself every month, because as people come in, they're learning these things and putting them into action, that they're able to see their financial stability just get stronger and stronger. And we're already seeing it happening inside Arise, and we hope that you'll feel excited about what's possible for your life. I know things can feel kind of hard and overwhelming sometimes, but when you're among friends who understand your values and share your values, and then we can all share what actually works, the simple systems that enable us to do what matters most, it's really empowering.
Yeah, it kind of cracks me up because I did not think finance would be as popular a topic in Arise.
Oh,
and it's
people
like
love it.
we get hit up with questions. It's one of it's funny how many of the Arisers really love that topic. And so I don't consider myself any financial expert. I'm not a financial advisor, but I understand a few principles. And my goal is to try to teach things simply, clearly, and in a fun way, where like what we need to do actually isn't that hard or that overwhelming, that we can just literally take simple steps and start moving in better directions. Whatever those directions are for you or anybody else in Arise, everyone gets to pick their course, but having simple steps that help lead you there, it's been really fun to watch people come in and just knock it out of the park. So we'd love that to be your experience as well.
Okay, well, hope this has been fun. If you want to learn more about Arise, you just go to learndobecome.com/arise and make sure that you're part of our community. We have a brand new welcome kit that helps you kind of navigate what we have at Learn, Do, Become. We give you some quick ways to get started, and then you can be updated each week as we send out more free resources and encouragement.
And is that welcome kit free?
It is free, and it's at learndobecome.com/welcome.
Welcome.
Okay, we love you guys.
Take
Have
care.
a great day.
Have a great rest of your day.